What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm giving you guys a retro Harpie deck profile. So this is basically more so of a modification. If you wanted to run Harpies, but you didn't want to run Harpie's Pet Dragon, or you didn't have a Harpie's Pet Dragon at the time, which some of us did not have multiples of that one dragon, this is a keen part for you. And I love Harpies. Harpies definitely had their revolution when Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy came out, Legendary Collection, Joey's World, and the months that fell after that before Hat. And even some time in between when Hat was around, because there were a lot of Harpie decks that still thrived post Hat impact. So I wanted to build a variation of my Harpie deck that focused on a rank 4 engine, which means there is no Harpie's Pet Dragon in this deck. You can run Harpie's Pet Dragon if you like to, and of course I will more so when I get into the build and explanations for the build of why Dragon can be both a positive and a negative. I really think this could be an optimal choice if you don't want to run Harpie's Pet, but there is still the option if you want to run it in your own build, you're more than welcome to. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the deck profile itself. I'm going to start off with my monsters, and it's for the Harpies. I'm running 3 copies of Harpie Channeler. She's then followed by 3 copies of Cyber Harpie. Then she is followed by 3 copies of Harpie Queen, which is followed up by 2 copies of Harpie Dancer. For the rest of the monsters, there's 1 Zephyros the Elite, 2 copies of Summoner Monk, and 2 copies of Maxi. So that is it for all the monsters. Going into the spells, I am running 3 copies of Hysteric Sign. That is then followed by 2 copies of Elegant Ingetus, 2 copies of Harpie's Hunting Ground, 1 copy of Dark Hole, 2 copies of Book of Moon, and 2 copies of Forbidden Lands. That's it for the spells. Then for the trap cards, I'm running 2 copies of Hysteric Party, 2 copies of Icarus's Attack. I said Icarus Attack. 2 copies of Fiendish Chain, 2 copies of Mistake, 1 Torrential, 1 Bottomless, 1 Compulse, and 1 Solemn Warning. So that's literally everything in terms of the main deck. That is a total of 40 cards. Then going into the extra deck, there are 2 copies of Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon. That card is followed up by 2 copies of Lightning Chidori, 1 copy of Daigusto Emerald, 2 copies of Ice Beast Zero Fine, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Gagaga Cowboy, 1 Evil Sworn Exciton Knight, 1 copy of number 66, the Master Key Beetle, 1 number 82, Heartland Draco, 1 copy of number 101, the Silent Honor Arc, 1 copy of number 103, Ragnar Zero, and 1 copy of number 106, the Giant Hand. So that is literally everything in synopsis of this deck. Now, just in case anyone is wondering, there are a couple of cards in here that I am running because Number Hunters was actually out a month after Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy came out. The reprint of Harpie's Pet Dragon, the introduction of Harpie Harpie Dancer to the TCG, was that in Joey's World for October of 2013. And then the additional Xyz monsters, I know Giant Hand was a prize card, which then shifted from Giant Hand, I believe, into Minerva. Exciton Knight was around, but very expensive. And then 101 Silent Honor, also same situation, very expensive, very bulky, and just a whole lot of reach to get into. Now, if you stayed this long into the video, thank you guys so much for watching the content. I do appreciate it. And if you would like to stay tuned for more, or you like to see more, there is, of course, tons of things on my page. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Then you can also follow me on social media to be seeing more of my uploads and more content. So, with that in total, let's go ahead. Let's get into all of these additional things that are my Harpies. So, starting off with the monsters, it's a very short pile of monster cards, and it's because you have a very large portion of spells and traps to be playing around with. Harpie Channeler. Discarding the Harpie card from your hand to then allow you to special summon a Harpie monster from your deck to the field in defense position except for a copy of herself. But this build does not really focus too much on if there's a dragon in play, simply because this is the one that powers through with a lot of key pieces to form a lot of your rank 4 Xyz monsters, because that's going to be your biggest focus. And trust me, there's so many different rank 4 Xyz monsters I want to suggest that you can easily play in this build for that time period. It is bananas. The other thing about Harpie Chandler is the Harpies that she can easily bring to the field. You can do a ton of combinations of things with. That's why a lot of people love Harpie Chandler, because she just has so many different ways of impacting the Harpie deck that it is crazy. Free pops for the special summons with Hunting Ground, additional material for your Exceed summons, going into current Yu-Gi-Oh! With links and how many link setups she can help produce. It's just a really cool thing with Harpie Channeler, and it's a must-have in your deck at 3. The next monster up is Cyber Harpie. So Cyber Harpie Lady is going to be my choice of the Elegant Egotist target. She is the highest beat stick in the deck. Now, if you do not want to run her, there's of course Harpie Lady 1 you can run into the deck because she gives the additional 300 attack. I've seen combinations where they've ran 1 Cyber Harpie, 2 Harpie Lady 1. They've ran maybe 2 Cyber to 1 Harpie Lady 1, or even one of the full sets. And it's perfectly up to you if you would like to run that. I am just, course, for this build, just running the Cyber Harpie because she's just such an easy beat stick. And she actually, funny enough, Valor can't stop her, and Chain will only force her to not be able to attack. But because her effect is a condition, Valor and Chain cannot negate her. They can activate, but what are they to negate except for being a condition? I wish that was something that was changed in Yu-Gi-Oh! With a lot of the changes to just make her a regular monster instead of an effect monster. But I think this also has to do with some issues with some of the other games that came into play around the time she was released, where Cyber Harpie Lady was an effect monster to boost up Harpie's pet dragon, who was not an effect monster but was a vanilla. So yeah, your choice of what Harpie Lady target you want for your Elegant Egotist. Triple Harpie Queen to be a target for Harpie's Hunting Ground search. She's also a good target for his third party. She's a good summon off of Channeler because you'll have a 19 beat stick. There's so many opt ways to help out with Harpie Queen. And even at that time, 19 beat sticks were definitely needed because you can help, push in with a queen for like 21 to 2400 attack, 2400 attack, and swing over things. And she was just ultimately a really good Harpie to add into the deck. The next Harpie up is Harpie Dancer. I'm not running the Divine Wind of the Mist Valley in this build, so I reduced my triple set to 2. Dancer's optimal setup is just to have herself come onto the field and to bounce herself or Chandler back to the hand to give you an additional normal summon. That and then Toes will help with Harpie's Hunting Ground, clearing out a lot of the back row. Because remember, at this time, there's still a lot of back row being played, so you have to dance around it. And then without stuff like Feather Duster and other things, you're really trying to just bait out what you can. But because of Dancer's low stats, she can easily get over things like Bottomless Trap Hole and help you pop things, because there were still a lot of heavy battle traps being played at that time. Stuff like Dimensional Prison, Mirror Forest, and stuff like that could easily be popped and destroyed thanks to Harpie Dancer and her combination with Harpie's Hunting Ground. For the next monster is Zephyros the Elite, and I just slung this little guy in here because of his ability to bounce things back. I can bounce the sign back and trigger it. I can bounce back one of my Harpies and trigger them. You can get into a lot of rank 4 Xyz in combination with this, because the other monster that's in this deck is the Faithful Summoner Monk. A really good addition to Harpie decks, because you can discard a spell card to then special summon a level 4 monster from your deck. Although this card cannot be used for a tribute summon, which it can be. It can't be used for a tribute summon. You're basically doing this for 2 things: Synchro or Xyz with the Summoner Monk. And if you remember, Monk was part of a lot of big chains of things going on in that era, especially coming from the Synchro era, where Synchro Cat had Monk. Harpies are now playing Monk. Just rank 4 engines were playing Monk because it was a free summon off of a discard of a spell. There's a lot of really good things with Summoner Monk. And Monk definitely did find his way to sneaking into a lot of Harpie decks because it was a lot of different monsters that you can make off of having a Monk in a level 4 monster. So it's definitely a lot of things with that. That's why I put Monk in here. And then the last is Maxi. You can put a Vec Veiler in here if you wanted to add the other source of hand trap. And I have to honestly say the combination of these two can be pretty deadly. But because I have so many different amounts of spells and traps to help me with things, it's ultimately why I did not put her back into the deck, but she is an option for things. As far as Maxi goes, this monster is here to help you draw more cards every time your opponent special summons. And mind you, there are still decks that were in those formats that were definitely special summoning like crazy. So Maxi definitely was a great addition to Harpie decks. Even if you didn't want to main him, you can side him and then just benefit off of him for the game 2s and game 3s. Or them for the game 2s and game 3s. Moving on from there are my spell cards. We have to talk about Hysteric Sign. This is one of Harpie's most amazing spells. On activation, you can add Elegant Egotist from your deck or graveyard to your hand. When this card is sent from hand or field to the grave, add up to 3 cards with Harpie in its name that are different from each other to your hand without having to pay, at the end of the turn that this card was sent. You can't use both effects in the same turn, which sucks, but if you strategize it really well, you can easily use and abuse this card. It's such a good card. Activate this to get your Egotist, on your opponent's turn, flip your party and stuff, pop it with the Massive Summon, and then search for a whole bunch of things off of this. Remember, this card only got better the more cards start to come out. Harpie's Featherstorm, Harpie Oracle, Harpie Perfumer, all of those additional new Harpie cards were basically plussing thanks to this card and just the surplus of setup that this card gives. The next card, of course, is the card it actually searches for, which is Elegant Egotist. Over years, it was very hard for most Harpie decks to synergize with anything because we did not have a way to search for Elegant Egotist. Which, if you control a Harpie Lady if a Harpie Lady is on the field, you can search summon Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady Sisters to your field from your hand or deck. The thing about Elegant Egotist is that not only is it not once per turn, but as long as a Harpie exists on the field, you can Elegant Egotist and go get someone like your Cyber Harpie Lady, your Harpie Lady 1, your Harpie Sisters, and stuff like that. It was a great way just to flesh out for more pieces and more combo plays, so you can make a lot of your bigger Xyz monsters that need multiple material. Also, popping back rows, swarming the field, and taking out your opponent as soon as possible. That was just the whole montage of the Harpie. Harpie's hunting ground, clearing out the back row, blowing up things, giving a buff to your winged beast, everything you could ask for in a spell. Note that if this is the only card on the field when a Harpie or Harpie Lady Sisters is summoned and the conductor has to choose the summon has to choose a card, you will have to destroy this card as a penalty of its own ability. Other than that, this is still one of the best field spells that you could possibly have in a game that literally turns every monster in the archetype on a normal or special summon into a walking MST. Without Harpie's Feather Duster, which was currently banned at that time, a lot of decks that were still heavily using back row, Harpies were definitely a way to deal with. Hunting Ground was definitely there to help you pop that back row. And then there were, of course, decks that were using Breakthrough Skill, Skill Prisoner as ways to also pop your own stuff and then benefit from their abilities as well. Moving on from that is Dark Hole, which I put just one in here just to clear out the board. And then Book of Moon and Forbidden Lance, which are great utility cards to help in the game. Book of Moon to really get over abilities that would be negative against you, like Effect Veiler. Also helps you against stuff like Fiendish Shame, so that your Harpie doesn't get its effects negated. Forbidden Lance to also help you get over things. You can even play it on your opponent and then your opponent's running into your monster with 700 less attack, so that's even more of a utility there. You know, great for offense, great for defense, and I definitely want to run 2 of each into this build. From there, we're now going to go into the trap cards. Hysteric Party. This is obviously one of the biggest assets to the Harpie archetype. Sending 1 card from your hand to the grave to discharge summon as many Harpie ladies as possible to the field. Harpie Queen, Harpie Channeler, Harpie Dancer, your variation of Harpie Lady 1s. You had so many optimal targets with this card. Playing 3 of this was not really necessary because 2 was obviously the optimal choice. 1 is kind of really just praying that you do something, but I love the multiple of Hysteric Party because it literally just gives you the access you need to get your Harpies onto the board and then swarm the field or make your big exceeds, or even go into your Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon and then just really start wrecking things over. From there are the Icarus attacks to help you remove cards on the field by triggering your Winged Beast. Then the Fiendish Chain to negate monster effects. The Mistakes to help you deal with your opponent's searches. This is really good in combination of you can pop this on your turn to help you search, but then flip the second one up so you can then play it. Even playing the third one in your side deck just to help optimize, you know, control. There is another card that I want to pay mention to because I am running a lot of continuous spells, and that is Magic Planter, which can send any continuous trap you control to the grave to draw you 2 cards. It's a bit of cheeky little draw power, but with cards that Harpies ran like Anti-Spell, Mistake, Fiendish Chain, there's a lot of benefits to a card like Magic Planter if you decided to run it. From there we have, of course, just, you know, the massive removal and Torrential Tribute, some more massive removal and Bottomless, because a lot of those monsters are coming out with 1500 or more attack. So instead of sending into the grave, you can just banish him out the way. The compulsory just for the staggers, and the solemn warning for the negation. Alright, that is pretty much it for the main deck, and the extra deck is pretty much its own self-explanatory situation. But just to go through it, this is one of your biggest assets. Harpie's Pet Dragon, Harpie's Pet Phantasmal. I run 2 of these in this deck because in case I want to, I can make the second one, why not? That's at least 4k of direct damage that my opponent cannot target this monster by effects or for battle, as well as my other Harpie monsters. So having 2 of them on the field really just means my opponent can't do much to me. You will lose your material at the end of your turn, at your end phase, but that's perfectly fine because it's really just here to protect your Harpies and then swing directly at your opponent. The worst thing that you can swing into is stuff like Mirror Force, but if you're, you know, already popping back row with your Hunting Ground, getting this monster to the field and swinging at your opponent without anything getting in the way, it's going to be perfectly fine. Lightning Chidori for back row and for back row removal on its summon. Gets rid of a lot of set cards, helps you get rid of face-up cards. A great beat stick for the Harpie archetype, and a really easy go into for an Exceed summon. The same thing can be said about Ice Beast Zero Fine, because we'll talk about Dagasel Emerald in just a minute. She shuts down every face-up card your opponent controls. Then for every face-up card on the field, she's going to gain 300 attack points, making her a massive beat stick, a massive negation, and overall another utility card in a Harpie extra deck because she requires just simply 2 Winged Beasts. From there, Dagasel Emerald, who's just here to be a bit of a pot of avarice and putting things in the grave back into the deck. So you can put your Harpie ladies back into the deck, shuffle, and then draw cards off of that. I'm not running the vanilla Harpie lady because at this point in time there was no real need to, unless you just wanted to just have some type of funsies or gimmicks with it. But Emerald was pretty much here just to set there. There is the other combination of Lavalval Chain if you want to play Chain in that as well. Send something to the grave with Chain, activate Emerald. Emerald puts the cards back into the deck, or you can have Emerald put the cards back into the deck and then have Chain search for one of the cards and put it on top of the deck. So it's the options of things there. Then just going through the rest of it, Abyss Dweller for graveyard effects. Cowboy for the 800 burn to win you the game easily. Evil Sworn Exciton Knight to chain and then remove massive amount of cards when your opponent has more cards than you do. With the dark monsters in this deck, the Master Key Beetle can definitely be a utility card. I can target Hysteric Sign and send it to the graveyard. I can target my Harpie's Hunting Ground or my Hysteric Party and protects them. I can just find optimal things to protect with this card, and if I don't need it, I can just send it away. Heartland Draco can easily just swing at your opponent directly while it has while a face-up spell card is on the field. Of course, you know, with Hysteric Sign and Harpie's Hunting Ground. Really easy to get into monster, unlike Harpie's Pet Dragon, and really just only requires you to detach one material, but your other monsters cannot attack, and that's perfectly fine. From there, the Honor Arc to steal one of your opponent's really good special summon monsters and make it its material, and when it's to be destroyed, you just detach a material from it. Ragna Zero to pop stuff on the field that has altered its attack points from its original. And then the 106 Giant Hand, a massive negation on such a heavy floater. And I think for most of you who are going to ask if some of these were legal, yes, some of these were legal. This was a prize card. This was secret rare. These all came, most of these came in Number Hunters, or they came in the same set in Wave. Like this was our, what is this, BLIR? Oh no, that's a reprint set. But I do know for a fact that the Exciton Knights and stuff, they were very expensive because they were secret rares at that period of time, but they were literally useful to Harpie decks, and I do honestly say, yeah, some useful stuff here that you can easily play around with. Are there any other suggestions I can easily give to you? Yeah, there's a tons of rank 4 monsters you can easily put into Harpie and take advantage of their abilities and their setups. You just have to find the proper ones to run for whatever build of Harpie you want to run. And you always have the access to your dragon if you want to put it into the deck. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I said pretty much everything else at the beginning of the video, and if there is anything that you guys would like for me to add, communicate with me in the comment section, where I can also give you guys some suggestions of other cards to run into the deck as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and HPJ signing out. Take care.